Hello and welcome to Read It with Whiskey, the place to be if you are a sci-fi or fantasy reader. My name is Laura and I am your host. I am a reader, writer, and whiskey drinker, and today we're talking about my 2023 TBR, the to-be-read list. And I know it is past mid-January at this point, but this list was in creation back at the end of December. And as I'm recording this, it's actually December 31st. I wanted to record this ahead of time, so you guys are just listening to it in my future, and I'm talking to you from your past, if that makes sense. So, the TBR of 2023, let's dive in. Okay, first of all, if you didn't listen to the B.I.R., the Books I Read episode of 2022, I would definitely say go ahead and listen to that because I might reference a few things that I talked about specifically regarding my TBR from 2022 versus what I'm going to be reading in 2023. So if you don't get some of the references I say, go ahead and listen back to that episode. That's the B.I.R. of 2022. All right, so in 2022, I had put myself on a book buying ban and I wanted to read all the physical books in my house. I didn't do that. So I kind of want to try it again. However, I'm not putting a book buying ban on myself. And the reason I'm not putting a book buying ban on myself is because I think I'm a lot stronger this year with not having to buy books. I did actually break my book buying ban at the end of 2022, so it didn't work anyway. So I'm not going to limit myself from purchasing books, especially since I have a lot of series that I have started and I want to finish them. So if that means buying the second or third book in a sequel, I'm not afraid of that anymore, which is kind of nice to think about. So I do want to limit myself on how much I can spend every month. So I'm just going to give myself a $20 cap. If I'm buying ebooks, then that's going to get me probably 2 or 3 ebooks depending on the price range. And then if I'm buying paperbacks, it'll all just depend. So $20 a month, I think I can do that. And the reason I bring this up is because I still do want to read all of the physical books in my house as of right now. And I really did not do very well last year with doing this. You can go back to that episode from January 3rd to get the details. But I do have some new numbers to run by you guys. So there are numbers for how many physical books I currently have that I own, as well as ebooks. And I've decided to break those up separately. And then at the end of the year, I can kind of reevaluate and see how much in each category I read instead of lumping them all together like I did in 2022. Okay, so first of all, let's just talk about my total TBR in general. This isn't exactly what I want to read in 2023, but I think you guys need to know exactly how many books I have on my shelf and in my Kindle and on my Supernote to read before we even dive into the true goals of 2023. So in total, I have 144 books on my TBR. Now, I know I most likely will not read 144 books in 2023. I have only ever read 109. That is my max in 1 year. So I don't anticipate reading all 144 of these books. But like I said, this isn't about the goal. This is just about my total TBR as of right now. So currently I have 53 physical copies of books that are on my TBR. 11 of those are nonfiction and 42 are fiction. Of the 42 that are fiction, 7 are already scheduled to be on Read It with Whiskey, and then 11 of those 42 are sequels for books that have already been on the show. So 18 of the 42 are related to Read It with Whiskey. The rest of them are not. As for ebooks, I have quite a few. I have 91 to-be-read books in digital format. So 71 of those are on my Kindle and 20 are on my Supernote. And the Supernote, if you don't know what it is, I just purchased it for myself for Christmas in December, and it's basically an internet-less tablet for writing and reading primarily. You can connect it to the internet to transfer documents and things like that, but it doesn't go online except for the Kindle app. So I've been reading both Kindle books and other ebooks that I have in EPUB format on the Supernote. So between the Supernote and the Kindle, 91 books. And some of these books are old. They are from back when I had my first Kindle in 2010, 2011. So a lot of these books, they've been on my TBR forever, and I don't know if I'll ever actually make it to them. And that brings in a really good point. Last year, I had like 102, 104 books on my TBR, And I've gotten rid of a lot of those. I think I have unhauled between 10 and 20 physical books from my library within the last week or so, knowing that I will never read those books. And I really should do this on my e-reading devices because, like I said, some of these digital books are from 2010, 2011, when I first started reading on the Kindle. And my style in books has changed so much. So I'm debating if I should just get rid of the old books. But also, I don't know. I just feel like emotionally attached to them for some reason. I don't know. But anyway, that is the total of my TBR. 144 books. 91 of those are ebook digital, and then we have 53 that are in a physical format. I would like to make a note that there are quite a few books that I would like to read that are not included in this list of 144 books. These include writing craft books that I've had my eye on for a really long time. They include all of the additional sequels to Read It with Whiskey books that I don't currently own. And I've decided this year to leave off any books that I do not already own. So last year I included a hefty amount of books that I wanted to purchase throughout the year. And so, yes, they're on my TBR still, but I still don't own them. So this 144 books are books that I actually own. And if I end up purchasing other books that are on my TBR, then I can add them to this. But as of right now, I'm only including books that I own. And the reason for that is because my TBR would be like 500 books if I listed out every single book that I want to read that is in my mind in some way, shape, or form. So I do want to make that point very, very clear. All right. And another note, because I'm a little bit crazy. Don't worry, I will tell you how many books I actually want to read, like what my goal is. You'll just have to wait for a few seconds. So another note that I wanted to make is that I have a few challenges that I want to do throughout 2023. And this is definitely tied in with my TBR list. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. And these two challenges are really exciting for me. I have really liked them. The first one is the Amazon Kindle challenge. So if you've been listening to the episodes here on Read It with Whiskey, or if you've been following me on @LauraJLive, which is my author Instagram account, you will know that I've been doing the Amazon Kindle reading challenges for the past 2 quarters. So I started in the summer. I went ahead and did the end of the year, and I am diving into the first quarter of 2023, continuing on with this challenge. And the only reason I am continuing on with this challenge is because of how much progress I have made in reading ebooks. So I mentioned it in the last episode with my BIR from 2022, but in 2021, I only read 15 ebooks. I don't like reading ebooks, okay? But in 2022, I ended up reading 34 ebooks, and that is 100% because of the Amazon Kindle reading challenge. For whatever reason, if I have a challenge with specific goals and I am competing against other people or with myself, I want to win, right? So for whatever reason, my mind really likes to read ebooks if it's for this challenge. I won't read an ebook just to read it. Like those books that I have on my Supernote that aren't connected to the Kindle, those 20 books, I probably won't read them, honestly, putting it out there, because they're not attached to the challenge. I don't like reading digitally. And this challenge has really motivated me. And I've read so many more ebooks, and I really want to get this ebook TBR down. So that is one of the challenges that I will be pursuing in 2023. And I'm really excited about it. And we'll see how long I go. I don't want to force myself to do the challenge every single quarter. It is set up in quarters if you haven't used it before. And I don't want to pressure myself to do it every single quarter, but I do for sure want to do it in the first quarter. Now, the second challenge that I am putting in front of myself for 2023 is more about getting me out of the house. I work from home for a living full time, and I am a homebody. So I want to challenge myself to go to the library at least once a week. So 52 visits, that's not too difficult to do, right? And I don't have to be borrowing books every single time. Let me make that clear. I just want to go to the library every single week. However, I know if I go to the library every single week, I'm going to end up borrowing some books. And so that is definitely going to be taken into consideration when I think about my overall goal for the year. And one final note before I tell you my actual 2023 goals. If I want to DNF a book, I'm going to let myself. Okay, so I have already looked at my shelf, and I know that certain books I am not going to want to read unless I'm really in the mood for them. So if I DNF a book, I'm going to be okay with that, which is terrifying. I really want to practice DNFing. I want to make it happen because there is not enough time in the world to read every single book. And that is one of the reasons why I unhauled 10 or 20 physical books at the end of this year, end of 2022, because I knew that I wouldn't read them in the future. And if I come across a book that I own either physically or ebook, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to go ahead, DNF it, or just get rid of it and not put that pressure on myself. So as of right now, I have 144 that I currently own, but that could go down simply due to me getting rid of books, and that's okay. Okay, so now let's actually dive into my true goals for 2023. Of those 144 TBR books, both digital and physical, I do not plan on reading all of them. I do have an overall goal to read 100 books, but they do not have to all be from that TBR list. So of my TBRs that I own, 53 of them are physical books, and I would like to get through that list. I would like to see all of the physical books read. And like I said, I'm not putting a true buying ban on myself, but I would like to try and get through a majority of those 53 before I start buying more books. But like I said, I'm not limiting myself. $20 a month. That's what I'm going to do. So 53 of my 100 books for the year. I hope to get through all of the physical books I own. And if any of those books are available at the library as audiobooks, I will 100% be hybrid reading those. And I do this because I want to get through my stack faster, and it's still reading a book. It's just reading it in paperback format and as an audiobook. I can do it while I'm washing dishes, So 53 of my owned TBR that are physical, I want to read all of those. Now, I want to keep up with my Kindle challenge, like I mentioned just a little bit ago. So I'm assuming I'll read at least one book a month through that challenge. I don't binge read on ebook, but I do read every single day to get those goals, to get the little prizes, because they have basically a count where you have to read 30 days in a row to get a bookmark reward, and then you have to read 75 days out of the 90 to get another one. So I want to be reading every single day on my Kindle just to keep up with those goals. So I'm assuming I'll read at least one book a month on the Kindle, if not more, probably more, but that'll add at least 12 books to my list. So the physical 53 plus the 12 that are ebook, that's 64 books. Plus I'm going to be going to the library, and I'm going to assume I'll check out at least one book a month. So that's another 12, bringing it up to 76. And that final 24 is totally up to chance. I do not have any type of rhyme or reason for the final 24 on my list. I just know I'm going to end up reading random books. So I'm just letting that be random. So that's my goal. Read 100 books, 53 that I physically own, 12 on my Kindle, and probably about 12 from the library, and then another 24 randomly. And I do want to try and do at least one nonfiction per month. With Read It With Whiskey, I only currently have 7 that I have scheduled out for the show. So at least 7 for Read It With Whiskey. And yeah, I don't have any other parameters. And I'm actually really glad that I don't have any other parameters, because I want reading to just be joyful and fun and like it always should be. So yeah, those are my goals for 2023. That's my TBR list. And I'm not going to tell you the exact books. I didn't do this last year either, because if I list out all the books that I actually want to read and then I don't read them, I'll kind of feel bad. But if I leave it up to secrecy and don't tell you, then I don't have to read them. That's basically how it's going to go. So hopefully at the end of 2023, I'll be able to tell you guys what books I ended up reading of that 144 TBRs. Did I read all 53 physical copies? We shall see. And did I keep up with the library and Amazon challenges? Because I really hope I do. But until then, that's it for the TBR of 2023. And next week on Read It With Whiskey, we have J.M. Williams. He is the author of Call of the Guardian. This is an epic fantasy novel. It has action, adventure, sword, and sorcery. There's a lot of stuff going on in this book, so definitely stay tuned. I'll talk to you then. You've been listening to an episode of Read It With Whiskey. I'm your host, Laura Juntunen, and I want to personally say thank you so much for listening. Your support of the podcast means so much to me, and I would love to get to know you. Hop on over to Instagram and follow us at Read It with Whiskey. Please chime in on this episode's post, share it on your social media and with your friends, and come back next time to hear more from self-published authors. I'll talk to you soon.